Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for having me in Abu Dhabi on such short notice. I'm very grateful to be here in all of your presence. I've heard about your wonderful Avataridesh, the wonderful community in Yatra. And even though it's a short trip that I'm on, I'm very grateful to be here. So I was asked to speak on the topic of raising children in Krishna consciousness. There's quite a few children I see in the audience. Um, so I don't have children myself, but I did grow up as a devotee child. So I thought instead of trying to teach parents, I thought I would share my experience of growing up as a devotee and what inspired me to keep growing and continuing in my Krishna consciousness, trying to continue to grow. Right now, I'm the age I'm at. Um, so I was born in the United Kingdom. I grew up in Krishna consciousness. My parents raised both me and my older brother as devotees, and I wanted to share a bit about that. So Krishna consciousness was our whole life growing up. My parents made it a very fun but also conducive environment that we could grow and nourish ourselves in. I remember we had a normal childhood as in going to school. We didn't go to any devotee school or gurukul. We went to a normal regular school. But waking up in the morning, I would have my mother who would sit down and do japa with me early in the morning. And then we would have family darshanarti and then shastra class. And after that, we would go to school, finish our homework. And then in the evenings, there was bhajan evenings with my family. Then we would read Krishna book together. So just like when I was asked to give this talk, it brought back a lot of memories for me, just thinking about my childhood growing up as a devotee. And there's only positive experiences. And I think every child should have the opportunity for when they grow up to look back on their childhood growing up as a devotee and never feel that they were in any way forced or made to be part of this movement, but they should have a positive experience reminiscing back on it. Um, so growing up, even though we were in the UK, we were very far away from the temple. We were around an hour and a half away from the temple. So I felt that this put more responsibility on my parents to really make our home environment very conducive to Krishna consciousness. So we had our duties, we had Gornitai. I was given my own Gornitai when I was very small. And this, in one sense, gave me some kind of responsibility that, you know what, I feel like I have to dress them, I have to offer boga to them, I have to look after them. And this developed my attachment to the deities and to serving Gornitai. My brother had an inclination to do pujari service, so my mother encouraged him, and in that way he would host festivals in our garden, and the neighbors week would over, we would do grand abhisheks for Gornitai, Govardhan Puja. So these are just some fond memories I was thinking back on. There are a few main points that I wanted to talk about. I was listening to a class by Her Grace Urmila Mataji a while ago, and a few points struck out to me, and a few of my own points I wanted to add to that. So there are 5 points, and the first and a very primary point is the child's relationship with their parent. I think it's a struggle between parent and child in most households, especially in the time and day the day and time where we are in today. So, firstly, it's sometimes we struggle as sometimes we struggle as the human nature to not be obedient, right? We want to continuously rebel. That's our tendency as humans. We never want to fully follow authority. We kind of want to go the opposite direction of authority. It's our tendency as humans. Even Krishna didn't listen to Mother Yashoda when he was growing up. There's so many pastimes. Krishna's doing this, Krishna's doing that. So Krishna finds it difficult to listen to his mother and father. I mean, what to speak of us, right? We're conditioned souls. That's the reason we're in this world. It's because of our tendency to rebel. But the one tendency that the positive thing we have as humans, and especially children, is the tendency to please. And please who? Please those that we love, that we care about, right? It's a need of the human to want to make someone happy that we have care and affection for. And in a child's life, the primary figure is the parents, the mother and the father. Therefore, the duty of the parents is, as being the elders, to become a superior friend to the child, especially in the generation that we are raising today, maybe the rigidness that adults grew up in their time is not really applicable to what we have today. That does not mean that discipline is not applicable. My own mother and father were very strict, but there was a balance. The friendship was also developed, and what this did is, if I felt this friendship with my parents, I felt like they want me to be a devotee. In order to please them, I want to try harder in my Krishna consciousness. I want to strive more. And because I knew that was important to them, for me, it became a priority. For my brother, it became a priority that we need to please our parents. We want to make them happy because we have the love and affection and the relationship between me and them. It was never anything that was forced upon us. And also, I feel like for a child, observing the parents is the primary way to developing their Krishna consciousness. For me growing up, I'm speaking about my own experiences because this is something that I felt helped me. But looking at my parents, their daily sadhana, even now, even though I'm grown up, it's still such a big inspiration to see them attending temple every day, doing their service, serving devotees, and it encourages me because I learn from them. It's similar to the relationship between guru and disciple. Through guru and disciple, if the guru is only chastising all the time, then there's no relationship. The love does not develop between the guru and the disciple. We want to please our guru, and it's the same thing between our parents and us. So that's just a small point that I wanted to talk about. The first point is the relationship with the parents. That children, how can we make it conducive for a child growing up in Krishna consciousness to develop this need to please their authority. And so this was just something I wanted to touch on. The second thing was stories. Now this seems quite a very general topic, but for me, stories, reading books was, I think, the primary factor in my Krishna consciousness. Stories for any child is like the stepping stones to magic, right? And we are lucky that for us, Krishna's pastimes are already full of magic. He has demons and he has the Govardhan pastime, and then there's him going to Mathura. We don't need to add anything to it. It's already so fun and attractive for children. So, stories that support our devotional values. I personally believe that till a child is 5 or 6 or 7 years old, there is no need to read anything else to them. Our movement is full and flourishing with so many devotional books. Obviously, when they get older, they require for school and extracurriculars to read more books. But I feel that through these books that we give them, if they can develop their relationship with Krishna through these stories, then we've done our primary role. So encourage children to read, to develop their educational skills through these stories and literatures. Through this way, they can enter this pastimes of Krishna Lila, right? These are the stepping stones Prabhupada says into the spiritual world. Krishna book is a window into the spiritual world. And that does not mean that we give a 5 or a 6-year-old Srimad Bhagavatam. I find it hard to read Bhagavatam. So what to speak of a small child? So we need to give them literature which is age appropriate for them. And I think this is a point that is really important for me because I honestly think I learned most of the things I know through just sitting down and reading. Every time I would go to the temple, if I wanted a book, my mom would bring it for me because she knew this was going to develop me fundamentally and build my foundation. So yeah, Krishna's pastimes are magical, and I use the word magical because they're really, it's just like amazing. Everything that's written in Krishna book and in all the books that we have today. I've written books myself, and even while researching and compiling these books, I'm amazed each and every time that we're so lucky to be part of this movement and to it's not mundane philosophy. Everything is so interesting and captivating. So this is something that I think is a must for every child. The third thing, I was actually talking to Mataji today about this, friendships. Friendships are such I don't know in Abu Dhabi how many youth and children we have in the congregation here, but I think I associate Mayapur a lot with my friends. And how many of us need friends in this room today? We all need friends, right? Friends. We need family, but friends are also so important. And why I say friendships is because when I think of Mayapur, I wouldn't be happy or the same. I wouldn't be happy to the level I was living in Mayapur if I did not have my friends. And why I say this is because you need support in developing your Krishna consciousness, whether you're an adult or whether you're a child. But especially when you're a child, you need these relationships to help you flourish. I think of Mayapur and I think of my friends and I think of how we serve the deities together, how we make dresses for Jagannath, how we make garlands, how we paint for the deities. It's not always that friendships, sometimes friendships have this misconception or stereotype of being mundane. Oh, they're bad association, don't spend time with them, or they're going to bring you down like this. But when I think of my Krishna consciousness, I wouldn't be anywhere as attached to I am to the deities without my friends. And I think these are the experiences we have to give our children, helping them associate with children, finding these bonds, and letting them grow together in Krishna consciousness. We cannot expect 10 and 11-year-olds to be friends with adults and in our association and reach the same stage we want them to be at. Because, I mean, we're adults, right? We're on a different wavelength, and they're also on a different wavelength. They're not going to enjoy coming to programs and spending time with older people if they cannot amongst themselves develop these bonds between children of similar ages. And even older children, I think they should be encouraged to act as mentors to younger children. And in this way, we can like slowly develop the children, like make them their own congregation of themselves. Friendship should be encouraged to the maximum that they can. Um, yeah, the fourth point I wanted to. Sorry if I'm going too fast. Please let me know. Is everybody on the same page as me? So, firstly, we touched on the responsibilities, the relationship of a parent and a child. The second point was stories. The third one was friendships. Yes. The fourth point is especially very, I feel like my whole mission in life is this point, giving children a meaning. And I feel like in our movement, this big society of ISKCON, it's so easy for the second generation children to feel overlooked or to feel like a burden to our society. Oh, they're just children, let them be. But what we don't see is these very children are going to be the next generation who are going to be taking on the leader responsibilities of ISKCON. Therefore, they are our priority, and it is our duty, it is every one of our duties to make them feel like they are needed in this movement. See, what happens if we feel, even as adults, if we feel like we are not required, if we're not needed in a room or a job, we naturally try to turn our tendencies away from it, right? We don't need to be there, we're not needed, let's go. What's the point? We're not giving any value here, nobody needs us, we're not respected. If we give children the attention that they need to strive in our movement, that's when they're going to flourish. I remember growing up, we had a local center, an ISKCON center, that was just established right next to my house. A very small center, but in UK in those days, it was a big thing for an ISKCON temple to be in a primary place in London. And this was a very small center, but my family was a big part in helping the center come to its place. And I remember me and my brother, we were very small. I was only, I think, 8 at the time. He was maybe 13. But we were made to feel by the congregation that we were a very needed part of developing the center. I was very involved in the kirtan, and he was one of the pujari sevaks at the temple. And we were so small, but we knew that if we didn't go to the temple on Sunday, the center on Sunday, that puja wouldn't get done, or there would be no one to sing kirtan, or there will be no one to spend time with the other children. So we knew in our head we have a responsibility here. Even Krishna, as Gopal in Vrindavan, at the age of 6, he was tending cows. Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj had given him this responsibility. So they knew that we have to engage our son in such a way that he feels needed in Vrindavan. Even at the age of 6, he had this responsibility. So if Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had these responsibilities given to him at such a young age, what to speak of our children, right? Krishna needed to be engaged. Every child should be engaged. And every child has a different tendency. For me, I love doing kirtan. For another child, it might be more of managerial positions or car park service or anything. But once our youth and children feel required in our movement, that is when our movement itself is going to flourish. You can't expect at 18, if for the 18 years we'd be telling a child, oh, you're not needed right now, we don't need you right now. At 18, they're naturally going to leave. We need to make them feel an integral part of our community and society. And this is something that for the last 4 or 5 years, I've helped establish something called the Mayapur Youth Sangha, where we've got together over 40 or 50 kids every Friday, and we encourage them to develop their talents and inclinations to be able to serve in Mayapur, to serve in the temple, to serve wherever they want to. Because without them, and this is something that is so overlooked, without the youth feeling that they are needed, they naturally drift away. And there's always this question of, oh, the older generation, why are they drifting away? Why are they not being as involved as we want them to be? Because they don't feel that their talents and their tendencies are being encouraged and nourished. So it is our duty. It's just something that I feel is so important. Um, Even our contribution as adults, we feel it needs to be validated. Oh, I did the cooking today for the Sunday program, so someone needs to tell me it's nice. Or I went to the temple and I didn't get any service for the DTs. Well, why didn't I get? Like, I feel so bad. So if we feel like that as adults, naturally a child is going to feel like that. I always felt like I was fully encouraged growing up. Whatever I wanted to do, I always had backing from my parents. I wanted to sing when I was small, and my parents fully backed me up. When I was 18, I decided when I was in university that I wanted to write. And I started writing, and this was something I wanted to write a book. And when you just tell your parents casually one day, I want to write a book, it might be like, oh, okay, let her be, like, let her do her thing. We'll see if it happens or not. And I remember telling my mom this, and she said, okay, sure, start writing. And I think at that time, nobody was fully sure of what I would come up with. And 1 year later, when I was 19, I had the book ready, and we went to the printers. And I remember asking my mom, are you sure? Because this was a project that was going to cost, I mean, a few $1,000s. I was so small. I was all alone, so we weren't sure if this project would succeed or not. You know, distributing a book to countries all over the world it's not a small task. You generally need backing financially and with the help of other people. And we printed the books. And I think if I didn't have the encouragement and support that I got, and I didn't feel like my contribution to the society was of value at the time, I wouldn't have done it. And that would have been a game changer for me, because my whole service now is my publication, writing for children and distributing to temples and gurukuls across the world. So it's funny thinking back that if I didn't receive that support from my authorities, then my life would be very different. I wouldn't feel like I was contributing to the society as much as I am right now, that I'm trying to contribute. I would feel like, you know what, my service is not needed here, let me go do something else. And this is the case with so many youth who do not gather that sense of responsibility that they need to flourish. So I feel like as parents, we should try our best to whatever child has an inclination to maybe dance or singing or painting or cooking, we should try to flourish and develop these inclinations that they have, because these things are what going to help them stay in our movement and develop this attachment to serve Guru, Prabhupada, the deities. And without this, it becomes difficult. Um, so it's just a point that I wanted to make. We see this even Prabhupada at the age of 5. He wanted to do Rath Yatra in his village. And his father encouraged him. He bought him a Rath Yatra card, because he knew that if my son wants to do this now, I mean, Prabhupada then went on to inaugurate Rath Yatras all over the world because of the encouragement that he received as a child. So I think this is such an important point and something that I am really trying to get across to so many people, that we really need to support the upcoming generation of our ISKCON devotees, and help them grow and flourish in our society. Um, yeah. The other thing I want to talk about, so that's relationship with parents. The second one was stories. The third one was friendships. The fourth, yes, giving meaning. The fifth is positive emotional experiences. So I'm sure most of you can associate, if I tell you what's your favorite smell, I'm sure there's a smell that you smell and then you're like, oh, that makes me feel this way. Or there's a place. Maybe for me, if you tell me Mayapur, I feel happy because that's my happy place. I'm sure for everyone's got some different kind of significant place or smell or food that they eat that makes them feel a certain way. This is especially really important for children, that they should feel like our society, and they should feel that Krishna devotional service, serving Prabhupada, is their happy space. They have to develop these emotions that they can associate going to the temple with as a positive experience. Waking up for go to Darshanarthi is a positive experience. doing service with their friends as a positive experience. If the time comes when the child feels, oh, this is not, going to the temple, that's such a burden. I feel like this when I go to the temple. I feel very oppressed. I feel that everyone is forcing me to go. Then naturally they start to edge away a little bit. But if they begin to associate the temple as something that they want to go to, if they begin to associate sitting down and reading scripture with you as something that they want to do, something that they feel like it's a bonding time with you, right? That's something, oh, like if I think about like growing up, reading Krishna book before I went to bed, I knew that was a time I spent with my family, like we would read together. Or if I think of going to the temple even now, I know that when I go to Darshanarthi in Mayapur, I'm going to see all my friends. So it's just in my mind, it's like, I have to go. I want to go. I get to see the deities and I get to spend time with people I care about. So just developing these in whatever small way that we can, giving them the experience to experience everything positively. We don't want to give any negative impact to the child as growing up as devotees, because in the future, then naturally, when you become an adult, everything becomes multiplied, right? So if when you were 7, you don't want to go to the temple because you experienced this, naturally when you're older, I don't want to go to the temple. It's okay, like it's fine. So just giving our children the atmosphere and space to grow in a place where they can feel like our movement is something positive. They want to stay in our movement because they associate it with positivity. Can everyone agree with me on that? Yeah. And also developing their own relationship with Krishna. It's really important that not only being part of our society, but giving them the opportunity to develop a relationship with Krishna himself. It's so important because if they don't get the opportunity to fundamentally engage themselves with Krishna, like everybody has bonds. You want to develop a relationship with your bond, with your child, full of love, respect. They also need to develop their own relationship with Gauranitai, with Prabhupada, with Jagannath. They also need to find their own way. And once that bond is developed, they naturally, again, like want to please Krishna. Like we talked about the relationship with parents. They want to please the deities. They want to offer this to the deities. They want to do this for the deities. So it's so important that we can help as parents, as mentors, as guides, help them develop these relationships with Krishna, let them develop a positive relationship with the temple, with Prabhupada, with ISKCON. And this is something that I feel is so important for us as the authorities in their life. So yeah, these were just 5 points that I felt were quite important. Again, I am not any expert on parenting. I'm sure it's a lot harder than I know, but these are just some points that I experienced growing up that I felt helped me become attached to being in the movement. So just a few, obviously, like yeah, I still have a long way to go in my Krishna consciousness. I'm very young. I'm very much underqualified to all of you in this room today. But one thing I did experience is growing up as a devotee child and all the positivity I have associated with it, and that really wants to make me stay in this movement, and not only stay in this movement, but also encourage others, to encourage other youth, to encourage other children. Yeah, so just one more point that I wanted to talk about was schedule. I know I touched on it briefly at the start of the class, but scheduling is so important. I love schedules. Maybe not every child loves schedules, but I love system. And I think that's because growing up, I had a very clear system of what we were doing at 5 in the morning, what we were doing at 8 o'clock at night. I knew 5 o'clock in my head. Maybe I didn't like it all the time, but it was japa time. And, that time I got to spend with my parents chanting together. I knew after that we had to go to Darshanarthi at home. And I knew after that was Shastra class. Before I went to school, we had some Shastra class, learning bhajans or learning shlokas. And then after that, I was never neglected of a normal education. I think that's also important. It's so important that children also, as much as the spiritual education, their academic education is also very vital and essential. It's not that we should substitute one for the other. They should be given the opportunity to flourish in both. And if they're inclined to do one more than the other, that's okay too. And then after that was school, and after that I would come home and I knew that we had bhajans or music practice, or the whole day would revolve around Krishna. And it was so nice because I think that that really came down to having a schedule for a child. I think is very important. A schedule that they also find agreeable, not that what's just agreeable for us as parents or adults. So yeah, that was just another point I wanted to briefly talk about. Does anybody have any questions or comments that I can try my best to answer?
Hare Krishna, sometimes children want to go to India because of their peers or friends. So, very difficult. Suppose we, like, especially me, have some time vacation. So I plan to go Mayapur, Vrindavan. So somehow they feel that, because I have to go, so we have to align. So suppose they want to go Shimla, example. So they cannot go, or they have some friends going there. So how to be a win-win situation means that if I have already grown up, so I might have seen Shimla already.
Yeah.
So they have not seen it. So how to be, or
I think again, I have not experienced this because I don't have a child, but I think for me, I remember when I was young, I also had similar desires. I love traveling, so to go here and there. And my parents never said no to me. I was always given the opportunity, okay, you want to do this? As long as you're not in a bad association, go ahead and do it. If you want to go here, we'll help you go there. We'll pay for your ticket. It's okay. But at the same time, I knew that once a year, Vrindavan was something that we did as a family. We had to go for parikrama. And I think if that balance is given to the child, whether when they know they're not being restricted from something they want to do, at the same time they know that this is something they should do. I think if both are given together consecutively, then they understand. Okay, they can make the right judgment. It should not be that one is given instead of the other. Because if you start restricting them from doing other things and saying, okay, we have to go to Vrindavan for Yatra, then they start associating Vrindavan with something maybe they don't want to do. Um, so that's briefly what I think, that everything should be given, obviously in the right association, nothing bad. But they should also get to understand, and through maturity they will, that Vrindavan is all, visiting Mayapur, visiting Vrindavan is something that we do as a family and is conducive to our Krishna consciousness. That's what I think. I hope that's okay. Does anybody have anything else to say?
I think you touched a very nice points actually, because often we do, parents, if we come into bhakti and then we expect that our child should be also a very nice devotee, but then we don't treat him or her as a new devotee as we treat others. We just taken for granted that okay, if we are doing, he also should, or she also should do. The very important point is we should mold the bhakti. Nice point.
To agree, what you said actually, and very very important uh, point actually, because the most important point is the behavior, what a child sees, and I firmly believe that children, they have small ears, big eyes. So if an example is presented before the child, then I think it is very easy for them to accept it, adopt it, and also implement in their life. And it should be actually also on all levels, basically, beginning from home plus the congregation and everywhere. So I think what children are looking for is love. So if they have, they are given love properly, I think it is very easy for them to take to Krishna consciousness. And as you rightly said, that they are the leader for tomorrow. So if they are nurtured properly, I think that makes a lot of difference.
Definitely. I mean, children are so soft-hearted. Even if you ask like a child here today, can you distribute all the plates to everyone in the room? They would jump at the opportunity, right? So they have the tendency to want to please, to help. And I think once they're molded through love and affection and encouragement, they have the opportunity and the perfect landscape to grow in their bhakti and devotional service more than anyone. Because adults were so hard-hearted, right? As children, they're so soft, simple. They're very accepting. So it's yeah.
So that children are malleable, like
Yes.
very soft clay, and obviously grown up are like concrete, thoroughly mixed and permanently fixed. Very difficult to break them. I think it can he can be molded nicely.
Yes.
One thing, Madhuri, what you said is about friendship. I think that is very important. That is, I think, something we should all adopt because I don't think we have something similar here, like Mayapur Youth Forum you said. We should have something of similar age group and
Yeah,
where the child
definitely.
can do something. I mean, a group of children can do something constructive
Yes, yes.
and come up with some. Of course, we don't have temple here, so then
Yeah,
all those
yeah.
festivals. We have festivals, but not temple as such.
Mhm.
But still we can think of something
Yeah,
for the youth, as
definitely.
I mean, we have bits and pieces here and there, children classes going on, kirtan
Mhm.
classes going on, this and that. But we can increase those activities more, that children can form their group and perform
Yeah,
something
yeah.
together. So that I think we can take
And
away
even if it's
what you
not,
said about friendship.
yeah, even if they don't meet, it's not like they have to meet together to read Bhagavatam together. They can just meet together to spend time with one another and develop connections in this way. And from there, it will go into, oh, we want to do this. We want to do kirtan together. Or we want to visit Vrindavan together as a group. So friendships, it's so important and something that's very overlooked a lot of the times. We don't realize the potency that friendships has on children. It's so needed for kids and even teenagers, especially. Uh, yeah.
I would say even adults here,
Yes.
even adults
Even
also
adults,
around us,
that's
we need
true.
some
Yes,
friends.
definitely.
Even
Yeah.
this Janardhan Maharaj was here, he was also mentioning the same thing. That at
Mhm.
least we should have
One
some
friend.
one peer, or at least
Yes.
whom we can share our heart. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
as Updeshamrit, we know this, but
Yes.
then we and then we can open our anarthas, also open our heart. Also. Similarly for the kids as well.
Yes.
Actually, you mentioned about discipline and how strict your parents were.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that you should let your kids do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Differentiate. Like for example, let's say my kid watches a lot of TV. A lot of other kids also do, YouTube videos and some funny cartoons and stuff that we don't like. And so, where is that line where we show discipline or we let them do what they want to do? Where do we stop?
I think this is something obviously a parent would be able to answer a lot more than me. But I think so. My parents were strict. They were very disciplined. But at the same time, it's hard to explain. But I never. So they obviously didn't want me to watch TV growing up. Like any parent doesn't want their child to watch TV. But it was never taken away from me. Like you cannot watch TV. I was made to understand that maybe this is not something that is very good for me. They encouraged me to watch Little Krishna instead. If I wanted to watch TV, watch Ramayana or watch Mahabharat and develop my inclinations in this way. Like I said, I really liked, even from a young age, I wanted to travel everywhere. I wanted to go here and there. And so now, through their encouragement, I still travel, but I travel to do kirtan. I travel, I was just in Bali and Singapore last month, but I was there for programs. So it's kind of like a balance of encouraging them, but also showing them that we need to be disciplined in why we are doing things, our intentions behind things. So, for example, maybe your child watches too much TV, explaining to them why this might not be good, but also substituting, giving them an alternate option. It's not revoking it from them. They don't want to wake up in the morning. Maybe we come to a different conclusion, but something that is is conducive to them. But also, we as parents, we don't develop that relationship where we're revoking anything away from them. We come to a balance, and I'm sure that's easier said than done.
No, it's actually we've done that. This is my personal example where
Mhm.
my kid actually started watching Mahabharata along with my wife, and he enjoyed it till the time Krishna was put on the bed of the animals. Then he got extremely sad to the point he couldn't watch only. I wanted to make him understand. He started crying, and just when I became the winner all of a sudden in the house. That what. So we tried. It's not that we are not, but maybe because of the sensitive nature of kids, because they are soft-hearted, they can't see much.
Mhm.
Eventually, it's form of violence. Where the moment you reach Kurukshetra and above, that's violence, right? While we are trying to explain that this is done for dharma, I don't think so. They are in a position, or we are in a position to pass on the message, or be the recipient of the message in its correct form. A lot of time he asked very interesting question and pass it on to Prabhuji, because he's the one who takes our classes, and I always say that's a brilliant question. He actually comes up with brilliant questions. Yeah. And then I tell him to pass it on to him, which he does. He remembers. But I don't say I'm not being very hard with him. But that's most of the men. Women cannot have the same attitude, otherwise then for a kid it becomes different. So maybe what the message that you are giving is more relevant to the women. How do they take care of the kids? Considering the fact that men are not going to be responsible to the tune of what the women in the house are. I mean, this is something with the Maxi in the room can answer, but I think I understand what you're saying. I think it really comes down to, but also like as both the mother and father being on the same page of what we want for our child growing up in Krishna consciousness. Are we on the same level of strictness? Because not everybody is against their children reading Karmi literature, or you can't watch a movie. Maybe there's some kind of compromise. So I guess being on the same page together also helps encourage the child and make them understand to what level the clarity becomes that we are serious about our spiritual practice.
For the wonderful insights. First, what is your opinion, like children's growing up in Dham environment, and children who don't have that opportunity to grow in Dham environment, like children in other part of the world? Will it make any difference, or living in, I mean, growing up in Dham will it make any influence? How will it influence? Like, do you have any like, what is your feedback?
So I
How do you
would,
see that?
yeah. So I grew up in the UK till I was 12, and when I was 12, through my Guru Maharaj's instructions, my parents actually moved to Mayapur just for me because they wanted me to grow up in a fully Krishna conscious environment. Now, before I moved to Mayapur, I feel like the same level of parenting my schedule was, I would say, even more stronger in the UK because I didn't take it for granted. We never took it for granted that, it was that the house had to be fully Krishna conscious at all times in order for us to grow. Because without that, then, you step outside your house and it's mundane reality, right? So I wouldn't say that, but at the same time, growing up in Mayapur is genuinely the best experience I could have ever asked for. Because over there, I mean, literally from everything and everyone you meet is a devotee. So but I still feel that in the right method, children can grow up the same in both atmospheres. Because not everybody, like you said, has the opportunity just to pack up and leave to the dam. Also, if everybody did that, there wouldn't be wonderful devotees serving in places like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and we need devotees here too. So I think that I personally have many friends now in the UK too that I'm amazed and so encouraged and inspired that after working, a whole day at work, and even now, so many of you went to work the whole day, you're coming and meeting. There are wonderful opportunities in the West too, outside of Mayapur, and I think with the right encouragement and development, children can get the same lifestyle in both places. The only thing I would say is that association is so important, especially it's easier to not get enough devotee association outside of the dham. That's the only thing I would say that we have to be more conscious about is really seeking association, sangha, developing friends and bonds. I think that's the main thing. But apart from that, it can happen. You can have the best of both worlds in both places.
So may consider that when growing up in Dham has some extreme advantages.
Well, for me, definitely it does. It does because everything in like from your daily experience is just like for me, it's like serving Radha Madhava. Apart from my daily work, I have the opportunity just to go to the temple. All my friends are devotees, but it definitely has a huge advantage. But at the same time, it's not practical for everybody. So I think that we need to find our own, make our own dham, like like dham within everywhere so that we can get the same feeling and atmosphere for children and for adults also. It's so important to have sanghas like these where we can have similar experiences to what we could in the dams. Because, always in Mayapur, we don't always get to meet like this together and listen and talk because we sometimes take it for granted that everything is already there for us. Whereas when you're not in Vrindavan or Mayapur, you have to make that extra strive to do it. So I feel like this is also has its advantages at times.
More questions are coming from Prabhuji's.
Maybe I want to ask. Sometimes the preachers, husband wife, they preach a lot and a lot of time they travel. So sometimes the children, they find that the parents are not giving the time. Daily Bhakti Visha classes, online classes. So how can the child be explained, or is it wrong to completely give so much time that they are neglected? Or we feel that we are doing preaching, but at the same time, the chance that they are being neglected. So how to have that balance? Or
From what I understand from Srila Prabhupada's teachings is that the child is the main priority. So that's your service. Your preaching is, and I think it's such a big role because you're getting the opportunity to make this completely new devotee, new person into a devotee. You're getting the opportunity to start from scratch, and we don't get this opportunity every day. Like this child is basically the way it grows up, the way it's the devotee is going to become. It's heavily dependent on the parenting, right? So I think this is our own, I mean, as a parent, it's your own way of preaching. And I think this is the priority. And obviously, traveling and preaching, the child can see this and naturally it'll encourage them. But it should never get in the way of the child ever feeling like I don't get the attention that I want, or I don't get the love I need, or the support I need. So I think the balance between the two.
Any other questions from Mataji's? Yeah, please.
So I just wanted to talk about my book publication, which I started a few years ago. So this is basically my publication is dedicated to writing books for children that are not only spiritually educational but also academically. So these books are currently being used in schools and curriculums all over the world right now. Uh, Honestly, by Krishna's mercy, I'm really trying to do this to the best ability I can. This is our first book, Nimai's Adventures. So it's fully based on the Adi Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's written in a way that children can learn also English vocabulary, creative writing skills through the book. So it's not one or the other; it's kind of a mix of both. So there's over 70 different pastimes in here, and the plot of the story is this mouse called Mali is traveling through Navadvip, and he meets different Dambasi animals. Like he meets Giri the goat, he meets Mali the monkey, he meets so many different animals, and they each tell him a pastime of Nimai growing up in Navadvip. And through this, he becomes, at the end of it, he becomes Bhakta Mali, so he becomes a devotee mouse. So this is just a fun and engaging way that kids can kind of connect with Mahaprabhu. I personally didn't read much about Mahaprabhu growing up, so I wanted to do something that could help them connect with Lord Chaitanya. So this was just a small effort, that me and my husband are trying to do. So this is the first book, Nimai's Adventures, and this is our second book set, Panchatattva, the Five Heroes of the Golden Age. So these are 5 books that are dedicated to each of the personalities, the Panchatattva, kind of like a fact file teaching kids who they are, why they appeared, pastimes on them, facts on them. So this is also something that has just been released. So I currently only have one of each with me, but we are trying our best to get some books sent over from Dubai for the Avataridesh community. So I just wanted to share
More
this.
books in Dubai?
We have books, we're trying to get them both sent over to Abu Dhabi.
But they are there in Dubai.
Yeah, they're on the way to Dubai now.
Sunday we can show
Yes.
it.
So
Sunday
she is
we
leaving
can show it
today.
in the hall.
Yeah, so I'm leaving today, but Mataji, I've talked to Mataji. We're trying to arrange the books to be sent over. So maybe those devotees that want, or if your friends want, we have limited copies, but you can
He wants.
contact. Yes, bro? Abhi, I'm going to Dubai on Friday. Okay. So if there is a specific place which has already been identified and you need to get someone to carry those. Oh, that would be. Thank you, bro. That would be really helpful. I was actually thinking of how we could do that.
Yeah, we'll
So,
coordinate that.
yeah, that would be helpful.
So,
Thank you, bro. Yeah. So I will let Mataji know the Lakshmi and yeah. And we have another book called Krishna's Magical Alphabet coming out in the next few days. So hopefully we can also send some of those over in the coming future for younger children. So this is just something small I wanted to share that I'm trying to do. I need all your blessings to continue to try and do this service. Yeah, thank
Not in
you.
English only. Now
This is yes, only in English for now. Hopefully in the future we can get Hindi and other languages out.
Hindi,
Yes,
Bengali.
yes, yes. Yeah.
you have your publication, like self publication
Yes.
or
So it's called Mandakini Publications. We started 2 years ago. So we do all the printing, editing, illustrations in house. So yeah, we're trying to grow and develop.
Very
This is around, I would say, 8 to 12, 8 years to 12 years. But there are older people, even people like this is being used in some bhakti rickshaws too. Like for people that don't want to read Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's kind of an easy, funner
yeah,
method.
the past times can
Yeah,
be understood.
and it's the full Adi Leela, like it's fully based on scriptures, so it's not being changed. So it can be for any age group. In a condensed format, also simpler, more
Story.
story format without philosophy. Yeah. Um,
उसके लिए कुछ follow करें.
Krishna. So, if any devotees want to order the books in their Bhakti Vriksha or even right now, if you want to order, just put me a message or you can just let me know how many copies you want of those books because then we can arrange through BBT like that. So that's all, and um, you'll continue with Kirtan. Kirtan maybe because yeah. So let us say, oh yeah, for the devotees who are living, we'll give vote of thanks to Mataji.
thank you everybody for listening. I'm happy to be here to offer some small service. So thank you, and I hope to come back soon to Abu Dhabi. Hare Krishna.
So thank you, Mataji. Thank you for such an enlightening lecture. And also, there are so many facts inside the small short discourse that you gave was for the things to be pondered upon and to be acted upon also. So thank you so much for helping us navigate through this parenting. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.